Hello. How you doing? It's been a minute. I apologize for that. Hello and welcome into the Wrestling Mat. It's me. I'm Matt Camp. That's the Wrestling Mat. It's always right above Todd. So, I know I said there was travel, stuff like that. For those don't know, I've been a little busier as of late. I would love to tell you more about that. And I will soon. That's all I can really tell you. Yes, I have been doing Inside the Continental Classic for AEW. I'll be doing another one of those, I believe, next week. It's been a joy. I've had fun. It's been nice working with some people I used to work with at Bleacher Report who've helped facilitate shooting those the last couple of weeks in New York. That's been cool. It's nice to connect with people, reconnect with people. A lot of help from them, Bleacher Report and Warner Brothers and AEW. Been wonderful to work with all of them. And I've loved getting the feedback on these Continental Classic preview shows, the inside shows that we have done. It's been a lot of fun. It's not hard to talk about tournament wrestling. It's not hard to get back into the flow of promoting. And I've enjoyed writing this stuff. I've enjoyed collaborating with people at AEW on this stuff. I hope it's creating more interest in the tournament. I love the natural stories that a tournament can produce. And obviously, stuff is very intentionally done. But, even finding little stats and things like that, as much as you're trying to put stories together. And I'm not going to get deep into booking or anything like that. It's not my place to do that as it relates to the tournament. But I think you can just see that when a tournament is done and you're getting unique first-time matchups and you're showing that, hey, anything can happen in a tournament, especially a round-robin tournament. A champion can lose. I like the unexpected nature of that. Mark Briscoe beating Daniel Garcia the other night. Probably not expected, but Briscoe was up against the wall, and we covered that on Inside the Continental Classic that went up yesterday on AEW's YouTube and social media. Go check that out. It's all over my socials as well. But tournament wrestling allows, and here's where I'll take you inside. From my perspective, breaking it down and analyzing it, it is not your typical, and while some of this stuff exists, like, an animosity that is beyond the tournament. At some point we'll see Darby and Claudio. We know what's going on with them right now. We know the hatred that exists between them. But as you delve deeper and you look into these tournaments and you put 12 guys in these leagues and some have faced off, and you have that history to pull off of. And I love that. We did a whole thing about this recently on this very show about using history. And I think I talked about it last week. And, WWE and AEW are both doing it right now and doing it in a great way. And as I have been researching and preparing and doing stuff for the Continental Classic, you find fun little bits. And I didn't realize, and I said it in the video that went up yesterday, I knew the Briscoes had faced Okada in the past, and there were those War of the World shows and the New Japan Ring of Honor crossover. And I had found that they had never had a singles match before. So we got to see that for the first time in the last week. What I did not realize, though, as I was looking back, is, and if I'm not, I believe I want to say it's 9 years ago. but it was a War of the Worlds or one of those crossover shows, and it happened at the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia. A place I have seen a lot of wrestling in, a place I called my second ever wrestling show in. And as I'm, preparing and to talk about and promote this match, and what a little fun tidbits about Mark Briscoe and Okada that I could bring to the table here, and let's make this match even bigger. So I see, okay, they've had a bunch of tags, and if I remember correctly, they may have crossed paths in Japan, but never a singles match. So that was cool. But as I looked and I saw what their first meeting was, I was actually at the match. It was Shinsuke Nakamura and Kazuchika Okada against the Briscoes. Nothing was on the line, just the idea of those four guys all getting in there together. So as I'm researching and looking and seeing the history of Okada and Mark Briscoe, I find that match and I realized I was there. So I was like, that's a fun little personal touch I can bring to this. And I didn't even realize that. So I even find myself as a fan more invested, because I was like, oh, damn, I saw them actually touch for the first time 9 years ago. And look where they are now. They're wrestling on a major cable network on a much bigger platform in singles action. How awesome. And now, obviously, back then, Okada was still a big singles guy. And, Mark Briscoe was, I think, as he'll be known forever, and not a damn thing wrong with this as a tag guy with his brother. But it was cool to find that. It was cool to be able to reference that Daniel Garcia and the Beast Mortos had faced off before. Never in AEW, but in the 2022 Battle of Los Angeles. Now, I can make that as a reference point, and I did. Excalibur talked about it on commentary. It doesn't, to me, that is, hey, there's some history here. There's some recent history here that you might not know about. It's just a sprinkle to add on to that match. It's not about giving you the history of PWG or anything like that. And believe me, if you are a fan of AEW, hell, if you're a fan of modern wrestling of the last 10 years, I guarantee PWG has had a major influence on a lot of the things you've watched, regardless of where they're from. So I like being able to bring that up. Obviously, Excalibur came from there. I know they're kind of in hiatus right now because of, I guess you would call it private issues. I think it's been somewhat mentioned with who runs PWG. I'm not going to go any further than that. But they have been very important to the fabric of pro wrestling over the last 10 to 15 years. So I like that even if there is a small piece of the match between Mortos and Daniel Garcia that can be connected back to PWG, and hey, they have had a match before and Garcia didn't. That's a cool thing. And maybe you'll go out and go look for that. Maybe you'll go want to find that. I love to fill in the gaps of history. I will always try to fill in the gaps of history. I love when people go, hey, I didn't know about this. I went back and watched it. No matter what I've done, if I've been able to bring the past to the present and connect them in a natural way, and sometimes it's tangents, I know that. But if I can do that, then I know people will discover new things. I hope I get to do more of that. It's certainly part of my plans for 2025. Filling in the gaps of history, being able to use history to tell stories. These are things I expect to be doing in 2025. But I've appreciated the feedback on the Continental Classic, the Inside the Continental Classic stuff I have done. I have really enjoyed putting those together. working with AEW on those. I hope they've made the tournament more exciting in a way. That's all I want to do. And yesterday's episode, went a little deeper, covered the Countdown to All In on sale event on Monday. Starcast back. Hello, Conrad. A surprise appearance from Bryan Danielson, which gave us the perfect photo op of Big Boom AJ, Big Justice, and Bryan Danielson doing the boom. They got Sting, they got Mercedes, they got everybody. Then they went to Cowboys Bengals with Tony, which good for them. Hell yeah. I love that they were all on the they got the private jet, the family, the Boom family. Once again, they're great. Here, I'll show you. I had to sit on this one for a little. I haven't posted it publicly, right? I guess I haven't. Where is this picture I'm looking for? Here we go. With the guys. Tremendous. Very, I don't know. I'll post it somewhere else. But AJ, Big Justice, Mama Justice, the whole family, they're great. I will tell you, for those who are like, social media, it's like, no, you should want that fan base. You should want to connect with those people. And also, they're just really, they're nice people. Humble, nice, wonderful to deal with. Every good thing you've heard about them is totally warranted. I know some things that they have done that people don't know about that I can personally attest to have been really nice to hear about. When they go on and do promotion, talk about positivity and all that, believe me, for some people that can be full of like that's just a front. It's not for these guys at all. It's not for this family at all. That is who they are in the best way possible. When I see people knock them, it's just lazy. It's kind of just assuming it's just mine. A family gets to travel around together, having fun, going to places together. It's a very tight-knit group. And they get to have this life together. And believe me, in talking to, I'll give you an example. I think people know he's been on here before. I'm very close with Chef Reactions. He talks about this stuff all the time, how it's unreal to have this life doing this, making money off of social media. You don't know how long it will go. You want to ride it out. Very appreciative that he can make a living that way. That family is the same way. You watch a father and son go out there in a wrestling segment and get a reaction. They get to have that forever. And as genuine as it gets, happiness between them to do that together, to have their family with them. You're just being negative if you hate on that. I don't know what to tell you. It's not a new thing for social media influencers or whatever to get involved. It shouldn't be. Hell, I will always push that stuff. It's why Baron Corbin and Chef Reactions did stuff together a couple of years ago. Because it was smart. It should have been played up even bigger than it was. But there is a lot of value in that. And how many times do I go like this with this on the show? You got to capture people that are just stuck to this. So reach out to people, connect with people who are active, who are on these screens a lot. I will tell you what has become, at least what I think, the secret sauce in marketing these days is collaboration. And this is not a wrestling conversation. This is a marketing and business conversation. it almost feels like, and I'm not saying like this is the business model, that you spin a wheel of something with food and you spin a wheel of something that can collaborate. And okay, here we go. We have there's a famous bagel place in the tri-state area, New York, Connecticut area, where I live. And it's called Pop-Up Bagels. And they have blown up. Absolutely blown up. And they have investors and all, and they've done these like massive collaborations with like Old Bay, and I think they did some with like Cheetos, and I'm not even hitting all of them. And they're on all these shows but it's these random mixes of collaboration. Like one of their investors is JJ Watt. JJ Watt doesn't live in New York. He's not from but they've gotten that kind of buzz in the collaborations. And, you see influencers it's whoever collaborating with, trying to think of a good one. Like what's been like a crossover. Olipop, I've drank it on this show before, did something with the Barbie movie. A prebiotic soda and Barbie. Well, you slap that Barbie logo on a peaches and creams Olipop, that stuff works. So to bring it back to wrestling, because you guys don't need to hear about all those other ones, that is what these cross collaborations are. AEW's done it with Street Fighter. Go back to the gaming conventions when they first started, even GalaxyCon this past weekend. There's crossover here. You go find that crossover. Obviously we've seen it with like, Logan Paul and all that stuff, but it's finding that crossover branding. It's finding a way to mix audiences. I loved seeing people who came to watch Chef Reactions talking to me be fans of him and then go, oh man, he likes wrestling too. Or then the wrestling people go like, oh man, I've seen him on my TikTok. I don't know if he'll see this. He'll probably see this or something or hear about it, but like he was at my wedding because we are that good of friends. And at my rehearsal dinner, my wife's family and my family, people that hadn't come together before, and Chef was there. And some people were like, hey, have I seen that guy? Like, is he? I was like, it's the Chef guy from TikTok. Why? I watch him all the, like, and then people, they saw him. But that's because he has such a wide array of fans. So like when he came and did stuff with me or just talked about wrestling or did stuff with Corbett, whatever, there is a crossover there. And now you're making new fans of either him via doing stuff with me or wrestling, or via whoever he's working with because of his following. And that's why the stuff gets done. That's why he does a Hyundai commercial. So these collaborations are, to me, where things are going and where things should continue to go. I'm looking even around here behind myself, like anything obvious collaboration wise. I got to think of this. This is very much a off top of my head conversation. But even here you go. I just spoke earlier about being at the Briscoes versus Shinsuke and Okada 9 years ago. And that's a couple years into Ring of Honor and New Japan having those joint shows, those cross-promotional shows. That worked out especially well for New Japan. Because when they did that Wrestle Kingdom show, and JR and Stryker were on the call, and, Shinsuke and Ibushi, and Tanahashi and Naito, or Tanahashi and Okada, like that whole thing. The Ring of Honor stuff had been going on before that, but then once that happened and all of a sudden New Japan is becoming a bigger product, those Ring of Honor New Japan shows, hell, that's why I went. I was moving that week. I made a point to go to those shows, or at least one of those shows. I wanted to go to like New York and Philly. I can only go to the one. But it's a collaboration. It's Forbidden Door. It's what's going on with CMLL. It's what's going on with Stardom. The fact that the women have been having, these matches, and we're going to see Willow and Jamie coming up. What a hell of an opportunity there. They're going to have that four-way, and you're going to have Stardom, CMLL, and Ring of Honor, and AEW all involved. That stuff's good. That is cross-promotion. That is collaboration. Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May tonight. That stemmed from their connection in Stardom. Mariah comes over, obviously tied to Toni Storm. Mina finds her way into the mix, and we've seen Stardom and AEW and New Japan collaborate and do stuff together, which is great. But Mina's become probably the busiest and most active crossover, if you want to call it that. And that story, which as I was even like looking through stuff this morning of, I don't know if Mina posted it or Mariah posted it or whatever, like you see how far back they go. There's a lot of depth to the story. It's cool that it has taken on new chapters in AEW, and now they're going to fight, and there's a championship on the line. There's a lot of juice behind this. Watch Renee's interview with Mariah yesterday on the AEW social media pages. Mariah's got something that is deep to her, and Mina is a great foil for her and has no problem taking on the mind games. I loved her handing over the champagne bottle last week, as if to say, go ahead, do it again. I love that Mina was a step ahead of Mariah with that spear off the stage, and Mariah would get a piece back, and that sit down with Mina and Renee. Mariah is extremely comfortable, extremely confident. She said, I think, was the line, I'm more entertaining than half the men in the locker room. There is no doubting her. I look forward to that one. Winter is coming tonight, Dynamite. The title of this episode is called The December Wrestling Lull is Gone. And whether it's when I've worked in wrestling, been a fan of wrestling, whatever it may be, December, after basically the month of December, has always been traditionally a little bit more quiet. That is not happening this year, because of the holidays, to give wrestlers and staff maybe a little time. As you look at the old traditional pay-per-view schedule, World's End didn't exist before last year. Even that was quieter for AEW before that. WWE, last couple of years, DLC gone, no December pay-per-view. Once the calendar turns over, now it's okay, new year, new stuff, and obviously for WWE, it's he said it's the Rumble. Sure, you get things going again and all that. Absolutely, of course, it's the Rumble. But there's no opportunity for a lull this year. You look at just the overall wrestling landscape. All right, Survivor Series at the end of November, and the C2 kicked off right before that, coming off of Full Gear. C2 gets going. Here's Survivor Series. Come out of Survivor Series. C2 continues. Here's Deadline. Saturday night's main event. World's End. A loaded month, as I've talked about on Inside the Continental Classic, with Winter is Coming and Holiday Bash, and the Continental Classic is having these big first-time ever matchups. And at the same time, there's a TV special for WWE this, weekend. And there's title matches on it. And, we start the new year. The The mother of all broadcasts, the mother of all simulcasts coming your way January 1st. Dynamite, Fight for the Fallen, Nashville, North Carolina. Going to be simulcast as a norm, as the standard on Max. Can't wait for that. Obviously, Netflix days later. I mean, the month ends with World's End. You go right into January 1st, Fight for the Fallen. Obviously, yeah, Netflix and another Saturday Night's Main Event and the Rumble. And woof. There's no stopping down to load up for the first quarter of 2025. And there's not even a chance to have a lull right now. And obviously, big shows for New Japan as they're, getting through the tag league and setting up Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasty. You can't just skip ahead to those shows. You got to build them up, and that's what's going on. And it's awesome to be part of that. I saw some posts, and admittedly, I've thought about them a lot, about the discourse of wrestling fans. And in here, it's great. I love talking to you guys. Men, women, everybody who's in on it. The discourse, the conversations in here, 99% great. You weed out the people, or you see the people who are just trying to start stuff. I see it in the comments. But amazingly and happily, I don't want to say surprisingly, because I know who has been watching this show and has been with me for the last 6 months. A comment or two about seeing me pop up on AEW shows. For most part, though, people happy, nice, constructive, not saying anything at all, which is fine. I will say that I think as I move into the new year, we will evolve what's on this channel out of necessity. I think we'll evolve, to be very honest with you, because of I have too much respect for the job. I have too much respect for the places that I work for to even potentially, even though I think you guys know, I'm not one to stir it up just because, I'm honest, but I work for enough people that it would not be fair to put even the smallest iota of controversy or negative attention because how people construe what I say. And it's happened on the show plenty. So I think there will be an evolution of what the show is and what I talk about and what I want to talk about, because I know that I'll just be straight up for you. You see me show up on AEW stuff, that will disqualify my opinion to some of you or to the general public who only will see headlines about talking about other companies. And there's no reason to bring any of that unwanted attention, because it's certainly not intentional. There's no reason to bring that kind of attention where it doesn't need to be. So I think there will be some evolution in what we handle on this show, what we talk about on this show. It will evolve as my schedule begins to change. And admittedly, I don't have those answers right now. I'm working some of those things out. And it's multiple things. It's a nice spot to be in. Believe me, I'm not complaining. And I will always say that this show has afforded me some new opportunities and new chances and very honestly, other ways to make a living. And I don't think it's any surprise, but when a job goes away, it's not easy to bounce back from that. And it takes time. But being able to do this and having the support of you guys, whether it be as members or if you shared, or if you watched, if you bought a shirt at Pro Wrestling Tees, if you, you know, if you shared it with a friend, if you commented, if you gave us your hard-earned money for a super chat or for a shirt or for a membership, I appreciate that. I want you to know that every one of those people who did that and continue to do that, that means a lot to me. You don't have to do that. And that is never something I have or will take for granted. So thank you. Anyone's support in any way, whether you could afford to pay for anything or do stuff for the show or share it or tell people, all of that matters. All of it matters. Believe me. So I will always be in debt to those who did that and have supported and have helped and have shared and have supported and appreciate, you name it. If you've done anything for me in the last, let's do the math, 10 months, thank you. Thank you very much. I would question my own. I don't know if I would question my own. I don't want to. I have no intention of causing drama. At the same time, I think there is and this is, I'm not trying to take things too seriously. I think there's some journalistic integrity that I have to think about when it comes to talking about wrestling as a whole. I think, guys, I love to talk about the business of it. I love where things, to break all that stuff down. But fairness in analyzing is something that I always try to be cognizant of. And if you see me appearing for a major company, yeah, it's fair to wonder if I could be fair. And would it do me any good? Would it do me any good to analyze anything critically anywhere in pro wrestling? I would. I have it in me. I think you know that. I don't know if that juice is anywhere near worth the squeeze. And unfortunately, because like I said, I've seen these comments of the wrestling discourse is awful. People will jump on anything. And it's true. And that's unfortunately what you have to think about. Not the people who are watching the show every time it's on, who have contributed, who have supported. It's not that. It's the people who cherry pick what is said on the show. Never watch the whole thing. Never come back to watching the whole thing. It's why, the quote headlines I have made doing the show over the last 6 months, it's been controversial things. It's been me telling the truth about things. And that will garner all kinds of opinions. And there are people that are set in their ways of, hey, that place you used to work at, screw them. I'm with you all the way. And there's people who are fans of the place I used to work at. And they're going, wow, you're bitter, blah, 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 blah. And no matter what I say, because they are so set in their support of a certain place or whatever, or their opinions are already set, if I say something that might be against what they believe in, no matter what it is or who they support, well, they're going to push back. And no matter what I say, if it's in support of something that they like, well, then everything I say is right. That's not listening. That's just, and I see it. I see it on social media. Wow. Stories get completely twisted and maligned, and It's unbelievably easy to spread misinformation, and people go with it. Why? Because it's a headline. And that includes like reports that are wrong. There are reports that get out there, and I could not be more generic about this, because I see reports about stuff that people don't even realize is wrong. I've said that for many years in my time in wrestling. I will see a story get reported and people will jump on it as a headline. I'm like, and I know the truth of like, wow, that was news. Like that actually happened 4 months ago. It's only getting out now. It's dead in the water. I've said that about, factions that were supposed to have other members, and, those stories get out way after the fact. Or that was discussed. And I'm like, cool, that was 4, 5, 6 months old. That happens all the time. I get that it's still news. I get that it's still interesting, but then it, starts a discourse that is about a topic that is, dead and buried, or not even something that, if it has to do with certain wrestlers, they're even talking about anymore. Because to them, it happened 4 months ago. It may get out to the public 3, 4 months later, but to them, it's over and done with. Or you see a story that comes out and it ends up getting debunked. Or, hey, that was wrong. Or I talked to the wrong person. Or actually, they said this wasn't true. But all of the conversation and opinions have formed already. And sometimes the correction or the update doesn't get as much play, doesn't get as much attention, where people go, actually, or they never see. People who make these strong opinions, they never see the follow-up. Then they follow up. Oh, I didn't know that. You can't educate people that don't want to be educated. You can't educate people that are set in their ways. You can't try to convince people of things that they don't want to hear. And I believe that, unfortunately, that's a lot of the discourse probably in the world right now. Very divisive. I will say I've enjoyed Blue Sky. I'm on Twitter, but I have enjoyed Blue Sky. I have noticed the interactions have a different vibe over there. And that's not to say I would run from criticism or anything like that. I appreciate the feedback I've gotten on anything I've done, because sometimes you could tell what's well thought out and fair and honest, whether it's constructive criticism or positive, comments or opinions. That's fine. That is what I'm all about. But I could see on Blue Sky so far that, and I mean, listen, if you don't want this and you want all of the anger and fighting and every argument in the world about whatever is being talked about in politics or sports or wrestling is going to happen on Twitter, there seems to just be a better back and forth on Blue Sky if you're looking for that kind of thing. Almost more supportive if you're following. You can kind of stay in the lane you want to stay in there a little bit easier, as opposed to having stuff thrown in your face that you're not necessarily interested in. I'm just saying, go take a look. I'm on there. The Matt Camp at whatever, at bsky.social. I don't know. I'm on there, sharing stuff on there, talking to people on there. Hopefully, just go check it out. I also do that as a thing. Anytime there's a new social media platform, I grab my handle, the Matt Camp, so I have it there. I've had that for months, but seeing in the last month how much people have kicked up interest in it, and it's done well in the apps, I would say it's good to be on there. And if you haven't been on in months, it's there are the right elements of Twitter that are on there that make it pretty damn good. Anyway, as I kind of look ahead, next week's going to be probably busy. I'm, as it looks right now, just based on Christmas and family and work and all that and travel, I'm going to guess that, just as I look at the calendar, maybe an episode or two next week, and then we'll go on a break for the rest of the year, just because of travel and work and family and holidays, Christmas, you name it. But That's just going to be how it goes. So, yeah, the December wrestling lull doesn't exist, but, with a lot going on, probably end of this week, maybe an episode or two next week, and then we'll go on a Christmas break. But I would love to hear what you guys are looking for. What content do you want to be out there? Do you like the retro stuff? I have had an idea of watching Lucha Underground back, possibly with Chef. I have seen this pop up a little bit more. Do you like the idea of trivia episodes or getting involved in that? That has looked like a lot of fun. God, there was something else I was thinking of. But I like talking about the history of wrestling. And if there's things you'd like to hear about as it relates to that, to pick my brain, please let me know. Because I want to make sure that I am putting out quality content that you guys are going to like and watch and want to hear about. So throw your content or comments there. Hit us up on social media, Wrestling Matt 23. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear from me? What's the perspectives you want? How do you want to get involved? I have some ideas to collaborate with some people. Also, while I'm here, if you are not following WCW Deep Cuts, Not That Tom Green, and some of the other stuff he has put out of late, he did the My Way tribute for AJ and QT Marshall. As I told Tom, the person who created the original My Way promo for Rock Austin at 17 saw his. I know he saw it because he commented that he saw it, which was cool. But he did a great one he's been doing Why Insert Wrestler Here Rules. That's a great series. WCW Deep Cuts. His channel is blown up. A lot of love for him. AJ has given a lot of love. Eddie Kingston, he did a video of who was it? Tegan and Sarah song of tied to Eddie Kingston, the Reckless Youth one he's done, but he's doing a lot of fun stuff, and you should. He's the fun of wrestling right now. Tom is doing it right, and it's why he's had so much success with all of his social media. So Not That Tom Green and WCW Deep Cuts. Make sure you're following it and watching his edits and sharing them because he's doing great work. And also shout out to Noli, the next AEW world champ in like 10 years. I'm just guessing. So that's it. So tomorrow's Thursday. Tomorrow might be an AMA episode. We're gonna see. I'll be here a couple times before the end of the week, but love to hear what you guys want to hear from me. Questions, whatever. Maybe do a little AMA tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. ProWrestlingTees.com/The Wrestling Mat. Get your Wrestling Mat merch. WrestlingMatShow.com. Go check out the archives. Won't miss anything. Subscribe or get your podcast on the Believe Network. Rate, review, and subscribe. And come back for more because, as always, I'll be back to talk wrestling even more right here on the Wrestling